Interesting. Still my favorite part. Took me so long to make it.
Relevant Pokemon at the moment.
Yeah, of course. That's the idea, and the idea is to update it with more and more cards as new sets come out.
Nice. Oh, we're getting the Spanish rendition.
We are getting the Spanish rendition, and unfortunately for this game, we have a little bit of bad news. Caleb wasn't able to. Well, it wasn't not Caleb. He provided the videos, and then the footage when I needed to edit it was not available anymore. So this game, unfortunately, we won't have the double hand cam. Yeah, but it's the only one where we won't have it. All the other games do have both perspectives. So apologies to the chat. It's the only game, the only series that this will not be available for today.
I mean, the good news is this matchup only goes one way in my eyes in terms of the approach Caleb will try.
Yeah.
So we'll always know his intentions throughout this matchup. So if there was going to be ever one game that it happened, this is probably the best one that it could have gone wrong for, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously Caleb's strategy is going to be the Magikarp and Whaler tag team to eliminate all of Pedro's bench in one go. And we already see Caleb starting with the Articuno, which is a big improvement on the previous two games he already played.
Yeah, he plays 4 copies of Articuno just for this. He wants it in the active as quickly as possible, stopping Pedro from doing anything but interacting with the active Pokemon, so he can build up his Blastoise on the bench the entire time. Pedro gonna go for a Stellar Wish before using anything like Nest Ball or Treasure, just to scout here. Sometimes, even though it's not the best statistically to go for a play like that, it can dictate what you search for based on what you Stellar Wish into. He's going to go ahead and grab himself Ultra Necrozma out of the gate. He's also going to get the Metal Energy attached to it and just a pass straight away. One interesting tech card Pedro doesn't play, I say it's a tech card, but he just doesn't play Marshadow in his list at all, the Let Loose, and that seems to be an integral piece to deal with some Stage 2 decks, because you just can't interact with a hand at all, and this is a deck that's potential to clunk, and other renditions of Malamar may have just treasured for a Let Loose straight out the gate there and try to like leave Caleb with, you know, less outs for Squirtles and Candies on turn 2, but Pedro just doesn't have that option, so he's having to Stellar Wish pass here. Caleb can kick off, finds himself another Articuno and a nice Erica here. Oh, sorry, he found himself a Squirtle, but he just has another Articuno.
Yeah, pretty solid start for Caleb. Definitely a big improvement over the previous two games. Immediately goes for the Magikarp and Whaler. He knows his game plan. He's definitely gonna go for a big Towering Splash GX. Probably in all the games in this series, right? And thankfully for Caleb, he doesn't have to worry about Bloodthirsty Eyes anymore.
That is the ideal turn for Caleb. We didn't see it at all in the first series, but that is what you're after. Double Squirtle, Articuno active, and even one for the bench for if this one goes down. He's got that set up. An attachment onto the Werelord is fine. And yeah, his start is looking peachy as long as there's a supporter in his 3-card hand remaining. He's looking pretty strong here. Pedro, he's got himself the Malamar already. He's holding onto a switch card, so he can start responding on these Articunos. But that's all he can do. He can't access anything else on the opponent's side of the field, so his turns are going to be very routine. It's actually really surprising that he went for the Ultra Necrozma in this matchup, because he's going to find it much harder to chain attacks, because he can't use Guzma to like move his own Ultra out of the way. Giratina can just keep spamming attacks, but the Ultra Necrozma struggles a lot more to chain attacks, so it's more difficult for Pedro to, you know, keep this string of attackers going. It may be now that he discards a Giratina that he can Distortion Door it onto the field and start getting charge ups onto it. Maybe that's what he's going for now.
Okay, so Super Salpicadura from Caleb is a threat for Pedro. It's pretty interesting. I never play with the thing in Spanish, so it's interesting for me to see the names Geyser Fotónico.
Gonna take the knockout. Grabs him a treasure off the prizes.
Yeah, both players starting off pretty strong, right? As long as Caleb finds something like a Cynthia, ideally Rare Candy Blastoise Cynthia or something, I would put Caleb in a pretty okay spot. He can weather the pressure, and we see another Erikas for 6, so back-to-back Erikas is going to be pretty good here.
That's
Does
amazing.
he find Rare Candy Blastoise? No, though.
I think, yeah, the indication is that he attaches to the Werelord rather than if he's got Candy Stoise, he'd be looking to Cold Crush. But no, Werelord's a huge miss from him after pretty much having a stellar turn 1 and 2. The 70 damage isn't too big of a deal on the Ultra Necrozma because your main win condition is Towering Splash anyway. It's actually better for you to hit into Giratina twice with Cold Crush than it is for the Ultra Necrozma, so that's pretty good going for Pedro right now that there's no candies coming out, but the 10 damage from Distortion Door means he can chain his next knockout. Pretty smart play from Pedro from last turn, seeing the way to chain attacks on his Articunos. But this new one's got 110 hit points. The Brooklet Hill's not been removed, even though Pedro plays 4 stadiums. So Caleb's just got a huge amount of value from it so far. 3 searches from his opening Brooklet has been insane. Just an attachment from Caleb and a choice band might mean that he's recycling his hand rather than, or it might mean he's supportless as well. These are the 2 things. Yeah, looks like they're recycled though.
Yeah, it's really sad that Caleb, off of double Ericast, was not able to find Blastoise, and off of the Cynthia too.
Still no Blastoise. He's doing it the long way around.
Yeah.
He's just gonna attach. The ironic thing is, Caleb genuinely has the time to do this against this matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of the defense of the Articuno. You can just sit there with Articunos being the walls. You can take 4 prizes at once with Jirachi and these 3 Malamars. So as long as Caleb can knock out like the Ultra and Necrozma with the choice banded Magikarp Werelord, it's gonna be fine. So
I'm not a big fan of Pedro choosing to pay the retreat cost there. I feel like you can afford to use up a Guzma, right? Because the game is gonna come down to
he can't Guzma, right?
No, but he can use it to switch.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Right? That way he conserves energy. And I don't know, it felt like a bit wasteful. The game is going to come down to, this is the 4th Articuno. After you're done with that, either Caleb Towering Splashes or not. And if he does Towering Splash, if you have enough energy on the Ultra Necrozma, then it actually doesn't matter if he does.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It might not matter because Caleb just can't find Blastoise at all. But I feel like it was a slightly bit wasteful. Slightly bit wasteful.
I'm going to see. He is going to try and have that bench threat in mind. He's already taken 3 prize cards, so he's just saying that as soon as the Werelord comes up, he has the potential to deal with it all at once. That's what he's hoping for. The reason why they can't Guzma to retreat yourself is because it's all effects of the Guzma, and you can only do your own switch effect after they switch.
Okay, fair enough.
If you do, yeah.
I was assuming it was kind of like against Primal Groudon, right? Against Primal Groudon, you could select Primal Groudon so you can't bring it up, but then you do switch? Or maybe I'm completely wrong.
I think you can't get any switch effects, because Guzma literally says if you do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I definitely haven't played against Articuno enough then, for sure. That's my bad.
I think you got a fair retreat. Regardless, Caleb's got himself to 4 energy now. Werelord's in the active, where it's fragile. We're going to see this Lily, a last chance saloon, to see if he can get towards Candy. No, missed it the entire game.
Yeah,
so favored for him.
Yeah, the Caleb finally got a really, really good start, and he got off the support. He played more supporters this game than in all the previous games combined, and he just couldn't get that Rare Candy Blastoise.
It's really sad for him. He double Erica, as you say, then Symphiad for the recycle, then Lily. That's the issue of Stage 2 decks. You gotta have a combination of cards. If you don't get that combo, you're just gonna be very, very slow. Pedro kicked off with, taking a prize a turn. Didn't slow down that aggression. That's all he can do when there's Articuno's active. He can't do anything but that. But just keeping Caleb honest and capitalizing on the lack of Blastoise was all he needed there.
Okay.
But I think again, Caleb can still be pretty safe in the knowledge that he can still win games 2 and 3 if his plan A goes off this time around.
Yeah, which is find Blastoise, right? That's step number 1, find Blastoise. Step number 2, just run over Malamar in theory. But if you're not able to do that, it's gonna get tricky for him.
As soon as the Squall comes out, your deck becomes far superior because you're thinning all the jank out of there. We couldn't see his hand, but we can definitely imagine that there was a lot of blue in there because Caleb's list plays a lot of basic water energies. I think it's like 14. Yeah, it's 15 actually.
15, yeah.
So you're just seeing a lot of those cards that do nothing for you. So you need to thin those out of the deck. And as soon as you do, your deck starts becoming pure gold. It's just all trainer cards and getting you towards more trainer cards and whatnot. So as soon as you get power schooling, it becomes a much stronger deck. It's just you never got to that moment.
And I don't know, I mean, maybe a Alolan Ninetales is necessary to make this deck run more smoothly. I definitely tried out Blastoise decks in the beginning, even with Swampert, but I couldn't get the decks to run smoothly enough. The format just feels a bit too fast for them.
Yeah, I mean, you have to try and maximize like the likes of the Articunos and stuff. Even if you have like beacons and whatnot, it still just means that your Squirtles are so vulnerable. So I think the Articuno route's the definite play, and you've got to have so many energy card commitment spaces anyway, so it doesn't really feel like there's much space for an engine. The way Caleb's tried to go about it is add in a couple Crash Awakes to try and hit those combinations, but he's just been whiffing on them so far. Just a bit of a clunky deck. Articuno's lying in wait for some busted water support, maybe one day. Such a strong card that's just waiting to be pounced on, really.
Okay, so Caleb obviously choosing to go first. Starting Articuno once again, which is great. Yeah. And yeah, going to go aggressively against this Ultra Necrozma. The choice band definitely not too relevant in this matchup, so I feel like you can definitely afford to do that. And he'll be able to establish double Squirtle, which is just as ideal as the previous game. Hopefully this time we do get to see Blastoise pop up at some point.
Pedro is going to take full advantage of that stadium to have a quick scout for his deck before making any other action. Why not? It's there for you. You may as well have a scout and see what's in there. The choice band, you're right, it could be relevant for, even if this Necrozma GX never attacks again, like just putting it into range of a Towering Splash is still really valuable for you. Caleb doing it just to draw more off Lily, but even that damage might be relevant. And if the Necrozma GX stays in the active, you can obviously two-shot it, so a valuable find early on. Caleb only plays 2 copies. Pedro here having to scout out his Tapu Lele to get himself a turn 1 supporter. Looks like a strong Lily of his own.
Yeah, both players off to strong starts. Caleb just missing the Magikarp on Willard for it to be slightly different, and we'll see if he'll force, or we'll see if Pedro will be forced to go through 4 Articunos like the previous match.
So the only thing Pedro's really looking for now is attachments and finding more Ball Search for the following turn, and he's found both of those things. No more supporters, which is a bit scary for him. But looks like he's committing energy to the Necrozma GX here. He has the option of, well, retreating into a Jirachi is kind of awkward, but leaving this active thanks to the choice band is awkward as well now. So he's just going to send it over to Caleb. It's not a comfortable spot for Pedro.
Yeah, interesting to not use the switch there. I feel like at best you'd rather have the Lele be damaged than the Dawnwings.
I guess his fear is that if Lele gets damaged, he'll never attack with it. So going to the bench just means Towering Splash is, you know, that's 5 prizes already on your bench.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. That is fair. And we see Blastoise. So
here we go. And a backup Articuno. Things are actually happening for Caleb this time.
Yeah.
He's using Power School without a Magikarp on board though, which is interesting. Just going to grab the 1 for a pivot option for the Squirtle, which I like. And he's going to swing for 100 and move the energy back to the other Articuno. Seems like the move that we're after here. Already 2 Psychics in the bin for Pedro. He's going to continue to throw more away. The old 1-for-1 trick that's so common in Malamar matchups. And just bin one and find one. It's effectively finding 2 energy for you once you get your Malamars out. He can only grab 1 here, unless he wants to try and go for a switch, Stellar Wish, and then he can Invasion to attack this turn.
Yeah, which seems solid, right? And he finds the Lily, which is great to advance his deck, advance his board state.
And fortunately for him, you know, he's knocking out the choice band, so he's forcing Caleb to find another one if he's going to two-shot the Necrozma GX. So that's at least something going for him. Invasion coming in. He's got another Malamar as well that he can put down. He's going to choose to hold on to it for now. Don't really see much value in holding it. At the same time, he's not going to be using it this turn, and Caleb's unlikely to just gust up a Inkay, really.
Yeah. Caleb's going to be 10 damage short of the knockout on this Dawnwings. That's going to be unlucky for him, unless he finds the choice band, of course. But, I mean, that being 10 off could also be relevant if he manages to eventually Towering Splash.
Yep. That's still really good numbers for you.
Yeah.
Ironically. Second Stoice coming down. The one
Blast
thing he's missing is the Magic Art Warlord.
Yeah.
Pedro, this time able to replace the stadium's been so crucial.
Yeah.
He's actually powering up the Blastoise to start swinging, by the looks of things.
Oh, yeah. He's going to choose to get the KO. I'm surprised he attached... Did you notice? Like, he attached energy to the Squirtle, and then he Airy Cast when he had 3 cards left. So I'm not sure if that was a slight mistake. Like, you don't need to commit the energy, so why would you?
Yeah, it puts you down one route, basically. Which is really strange. But in the end, he's going to essentially offer up a Blastoise. It's really weird because plan A for Caleb is normally just bide your time, build to Warlord. Even if this Articuno is only doing 70, I would normally say that that's just fine. You've got time. But instead, offering up a Blastoise, basically meaning that it's going to be super difficult for Caleb to ever catch up with a Magikarp doing a Towering Splash. Really, really tough. He's just hoping that he can tempo out on a prize race situation at this point, which is difficult because Malamar will always chain attacks, like always. That's what they're known for. If there's anything they can do, it's recycle a Giratina and swing again.
Yep.
And that's all they need to do, seeing as though Blastoise hit themselves for 30.
Caleb Pedro did with a switching card, so he's going to be forced to Guzma. And the only target he has is the Articuno, so Caleb definitely going to appreciate losing an Articuno this turn rather than the Blastoise.
Pedro still choosing to hold on to that third Malamar. Last turn he held on to 1. This turn he's holding on to 1. I wonder what the theory behind this is. Like if he evolved the extra one, he could just attach to the Lele, for example, just to have a pivoting option.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked to seen that, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean yes, Stellar Wish is very good, but that doesn't mean you have to use it every turn, right? Like if you're promoting Jirachi to Stellar Wish for a switching card, might as well promote a Lele for with an energy already anyway. To retreat. Yeah. So yeah, weird decision there. It's like the Pokecom from the previous games. Now we're seeing some like that Ditto. I guess Inkay is now Ditto. He's Twitch chat.
Yeah.
He's just watching.
Just watching.
Yeah. Appreciating the Pokemon battles happening in front of him.
Caleb with his aggro Blastoise deck. Gonna promote it. Let's see if he can finally find a Magikarp Warlord.
Off of that huge hand. There we go.
That's a Crash Awake. But the thing about putting a Warlord down at this point in the game is you don't have Articuno protection. So, Pedro's going down to 3 prizes next turn, then the Warlord's just sat there. If you start attaching to it, Pedro could burst out a Ultra Necrozma and just swoop the last 3 prizes and win the game. So it really feels like chaining Articuno is definitely the way to win with this deck. Caleb's going to re-establish his Articuno and just retreat into it this time. Now comes Magikarp Warlord.
There we go.
Are we going to see some Recyclers? Yeah, we are. That's going to really improve these walls.
And Caleb has exactly 4 prizes left, and there are 4 prizes in Pedro's bench. So, going all in on this seems like the best way to go about it.
Some reason he goes 1 to the active, 2 to the bench.
I assume he has an energy to attach from hand.
Yeah, I guess that's the case.
The damage not too relevant here. Right? Because
it's actually super close now.
Yeah, 3 energy away. 1 of them guaranteed with a stadium. So off of 2 powerful squalls, he needs 2 energy, which doesn't sound unreasonable at all.
No, it's such a big let-off that Pedro had to Guzma last turn. It's actually so huge. It's completely changed the complexion of the game now.
Yeah.
The 2 Blastoise are here, and then the Magikarp comes out, and it's just really awesome. But Caleb really took a risk last turn.
Yeah, and Pedro kind of giving up as well. Because I mean, the Inkay didn't evolve. I don't understand why these people are not evolving their Pokemon.
Yeah, even an attachment this turn, not even.
Yeah, to the Lele or anything. I mean, I guess realistically he's gonna get it, right? But like if you're that sold that he's gonna get it, then I feel like if this were a real life game, you would pick up your cards and concede. But then until he actually gets it.
Yeah.
Now, Caleb, I guess, doing some math, some calculations in his head on the odds of him pulling this off. I think I would say the odds of us going to a game 3 are very high.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
Very, very high.
Base 15 energy. The schools aren't needing much here. That's 6. We see number 7.
8.
We can stadium for the 8th. Or ability.
Yep.
There we go.
You got it. Salpicadura GX. Ooh. Wow.
You can say that again, because I can't. But yeah.
Salpicadura Gigante GX.
Damn, that's one way to win a game.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Stylish.
I mean, yeah.
Stylish.
It wasn't clean the entire game, but he took the risk and then really got rewarded by getting that Magikarp Warlord super late, but it can just show how dominant it can be when it hits that field. You know, Malamar players can't do, they can't change their strategy in this matchup. They need Malamars for all their attacks every time. You can't sit and attach to a Giratina 3 times and be content with that and start attaching to an Ultra Necrozma. I think it's oftentimes far too slow. Maybe not putting down as many bench Pokemon, so the Towering Splash only takes, for example, like 2 prizes. Maybe that's the best route, but it's difficult because the deck has so much clunk potential when you're not thinning it from all of its Pokemon and putting them into play. So you're having a constant battle with your own deck when you're coming up against Blastoise as the Malamar player, which is just really awkward.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, we saw Caleb's deck in full swing, right? Not a rocky start, got the double Blastoise, and that's obviously the game plan every turn. If you could pull that off every turn, then Blastoise might be the best deck, but realistically, it just stumbles on itself. So we'll have to see if Caleb is able to pull off this Towering Splash a second game in a row with the Magikarp and Wailord.
Yeah, Pedro gets to at least start this game, so he can maybe set the pace. If he can be slightly more disciplined with his bench, he might, just like in the first game, be able to tempo out on Caleb, where the Towering Splash doesn't just cause havoc and win the game all at once. If Pedro is able to just have 1 or 2 Malamars on the board, and then just like 2 Giratinas and 1 Ultra, something like that, and you're doing a lot of manual attachments every single turn, maybe that can be your way to get over the line and not be completely ruined by a Towering Splash, but it still feels like Caleb is in the driving seat if all goes to plan.
Yeah, if all goes to plan, Caleb does have the advantage. But in terms of consistency, in terms of reliability, I do think Pedro has the upper hand, right? But this is the first series today that is going to game 3, so we'll have to see what happens. Not the best start for Pedro. That definitely helps.
Ooh, that's a huge pickup from him. He can now bin a couple energies, start threatening a Malamar for turn 2, and then draw a big hand off the Lily.
Yeah, that top deck. I mean, he already had a slightly, very a slightly decent way to thin his hand with a stadium, but you don't want to attach an escape board to a Giratina, right?
He's actually prized a couple energy, I think, here. A couple psychic energy, which is awkward. There's 2 in his discard already, and there's only 3 psychic left in his deck, so he's prized 2 energies, 2 psychics, so that makes that whole let's attach an energy every turn plan that I mentioned a lot more difficult for him. It's already out the window, basically, because of prize cards, which is yucky. But at the very least, Pedro's got himself a big hand. Double Malamar being threatened for next turn. Yep. No switching option for the Giratina is probably the only thing he's after. Yeah. He may end up having to use the Necrozma GX again.
And we see Caleb even getting rid of a Lele, so I guess that's an indication that his hand is pretty good. He has an Articuno start for a 3rd game in a row as well. And we do see the Cynthia, so I mean, unfortunately we don't know what the other 3 cards in his hand were. Given the issues that he's had setting up, I'm not that big of a fan of discarding the Lele because it is a nice option to have later on.
Yeah, it would literally have to be like Blastoise or Candy pieces that he would be holding on to. Otherwise, we have to sort of question it. Instant counter stadium for Pedro. It was a big deal last game that Caleb wasn't able to chain his Articunos because of that. He's going to cycle back in a Metal Energy, hoping for some switching outs. He's able to Ultra Ball, get double Mally, and use the Necrozma GX. So that's probably his route to take a single prize this turn.
And you do want to take that prize, right? Even though it's a bit costly, you really can't afford not to at this point because you do need to go through that wall of Articunos.
Absolutely. We're going to see Viridian away energy for energy.
Yeah, that's the last psychic energy in the deck, so that could come into play later on.
We oftentimes don't see too much Ultra Necrozma action. He did it in game 1 pretty effectively. But oftentimes you basically just threaten it on exactly the Magikarp and Werelord, so you don't really chain the Ultra Necrozma too much. So I think he's just about getting away with this. If you can start pulling some Psychic Energy from prizes especially, that's going to be something he wants to look for.
Pedro really hoping to score either a good prize or a good top deck here, because, I mean, I guess Caleb doesn't have too many threatening things set up yet, but that doesn't matter as long as he's able to play into the Magikarp and Wailord, right?
He Viridianed away a Candy. Wow, I'm passed.
Yeah.
Oh, Caleb, not again.
Yeah, not again.
And that's a worry for him. He is not firing on all cylinders. We can see Pedro being a lot more restrained with his own benching this time. He's trying to do what we've just mentioned. Keep to 2 Mallies, attach every turn, just keep swinging. Yep. Now that there's no Articunos, that Guzma's looking more promising as well, so things are going Pedro's way. Another rare Candy discarded from the stadium. Oh,
yikes. No. Oh my gosh, how much would I want to see Caleb's hand right now? Yikes.
So, the Volk Prison could tank, but Pedro's already got gusting options. It's whether or not he believes it's worth trying a 2-shot through this Volcanion. Letting a Sauna Blast go off twice would be scary for him. It may just be worth trying to deal with some of these Squirtles. He's just going to try and 2-shot through this. Caleb's only threat.
Caleb's only threat. Yeah, because even if Caleb establishes a Blastoise, like, that's not really great. And we see the 3rd stadium back-to-back, and did he top deck something here? Nope.
Nope. That's literally what he's banking on at the moment. That's all he can really hope for. Pedro is still choosing not to do any of his own stadium shenanigans. He could be stadium, like, removing like excess nest balls and stuff to thin his deck, but he's not afraid that Caleb has any hand disruption, so he can just hold everything and just swing again.
Yeah, I feel like at the very least you would trade 1 metal for another metal. I doubt you're going to need all 3 this game, right? It just slightly reduces your chances of
just work your way to an actual supporter. Yeah.
Finally, we see Lele top deck the Ultra Ball. into a Lily, because he obviously has rare candy in his hand.
Mm-hmm. Maybe even all 4.
Maybe even all 4, yeah.
Here's Ultra Ball. Getting rid of a candy tells us he did have all 4.
He did have all 4 rare candies. Wow.
Yeah, that's a thing that happened apparently. That's such... Oh man, what a game! Right, let's power school for 3 energy, shall we? The dream? Oh, the dream. Very good. He can retreat now.
There you go.
Nice. Taking 2 prizes. Kayla's back in the game.
Yeah, because Pedro was holding off on playing everything that... I mean, he should have a response, right? With Ultra and Cosmo.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I don't really mean that Kayla's back, but...
Yeah. Interesting that... Well, yeah, I guess the one way Caleb could make a comeback is through powering up crazy things with Blastoise, so it makes sense that he's gonna Kuzma KO the Blastoise here.
Yeah, that's always gotta be what's happening.
Yep. Finally he goes get rid of the Nestball for an energy.
You see the Ultra come down. You know there's a bunch of energy in there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's all looking pretty good for Pedro. Similar to the other game, there's all 4 candies in the discard pile now. So as soon as Pedro deals with the Blastoise, there's no more threats from Caleb. Like,
yeah. With 1 energy per turn, you can never match Malamar.
You're not worried about that at all. So just deal with the 1 remaining Stoice, and you pretty much know that it's over at that point.
Yep. Okay, so I don't know. I mean, I really when Caleb sent me his list, I was like, wow, this guy he really wants to go big or go home, you know? And
Yeah.
And even though he wasn't able to win this match, I felt like if he did well with that, he definitely would have won the crowd, you know? Because
that's definitely true.
Obviously, all these players are really, really good, but this is also about the show, right? And Caleb definitely chose to appeal more to the show than to the winning the prizes offered. But we saw the Towering Splash, which was awesome. This does mean that Caleb is eliminated from the tournament, and I really do appreciate the time spent in coordinating with the other players to get the games in, playing them, recording them. Yeah, it's on me that there was no hand cam in this particular game. And we see Pedro advance to the ace match. Yeah, Pedro advances to the ace match. He's gonna face off against Stefan. We are going to see Malamar against Zork Weavile.
Yeah, this will be an interesting matchup. I mean, obviously the Weavile's a big deal that some of the current Zoroark lists aren't playing. So often we're seeing them either go thick muck these days or have extra fighting techs. But Stefan's staying true, keeping a 2-2 Weavile. Definitely going to be awkward for Pedro to play around, but it's going to be what he's going to have to do if he wants to take the win here.
Yep. And so if you're ready, Joe, I don't know if you want to take a small break or something.
I can go to the restroom real quick.
Yeah, go for it. And then when you're back, we'll get started with the ace match of Group A to determine who will advance in second place of between Stefan and Pedro. Now, after we are done with that game, we will be starting up with Group B. We will have Rukan versus, based on a poll on Heifonte that was done today, against fan favorite Tord Reklev. Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting matchup there, a Malamar mirror match, where I'm sure we're going to see a lot of interesting interactions with the Distortion Doors and the Sky Scorching Light. And then we will have another mirror match in Robin, our current world champion, against another fan favorite, Azul. Both of them playing the exact same 60 cards of Zapdos with Ultra Beasts. Who is doing the commentary? Fireflame. I am doing the commentary. And so is Joe Bernard from Omnipoke. Both have YouTube channels if you guys want to follow them. definitely subscribe. Joe has been uploading a lot of really quality stuff for a very long time, and we're both trying to do Pokemon full time, so all the support is really, really appreciated. And yeah, I think I hear Joe coming back.
Okay, I'm here.
And okay, so if you're back, Joe, let's jump into our ace match of Group A in 3, 2, 1.